Uh, Are there additions or corrections to the agenda?
I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda. I would like to move my Southern Vice Chair report from new business into my actual report for the D1 caucus. And then also move the fundraising committee into Vernil's officer's report as well from new business.
Okay, I have it as a committee report.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see that part. Or just mine then.
So, Madam Chair, I move the approval of the agenda with the.
My hand was raised.
Oh, Rhonda's hand's up.
Who's
Madam
hand?
Like to
Oh,
remove-
Rhonda, I'm sorry. Rhonda, I recognize you through the chair.
Thank you. I'd like to remove the code of conduct report. We have not met. So beyond what the chair is going to report out, we don't have a report for this evening. We'll report in February.
Rhonda, I'm sorry. Rhonda, anyone else being recognized? Lynette?
I move that we approve the agenda with the additions and changes.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda. All in favor? Are we having a poll or shall we?
Do the all in favor vocal, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Rhonda, your hand.
Aye.
Okay, so I saw 3 hands fly up and they left. Okay, they're probably just voting. All right, thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, so the agenda has been approved. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes from December?
Yes.
Are there any corrections?
Lynette Henley is recognized for the chair.
The approval of the minutes from what is this, January 5th, December meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? So the minutes are accepted. Are any of our guest speakers here?
I see Delane.
Oh,
I see Delane, and I don't know if Rusty's here.
well, let's, Delane, I think it would like to be put on right away.
Okay, do you want to tell her the
She'll be-
parameters?
She'll be speaking for 5 minutes, followed by 2 minutes of questions. The questions will be in the chat and the vice chairs will read out the questions. Welcome, Delane.
Well, good evening to you all in beautiful Solano County, and thank you, Marjorie, for inviting me here today. I'm right up the road in Davis, so even though we're virtual anyway, it's still I'm not far away, and I feel the future is full of hope and promise this week after that amazing inauguration last week. It was uplifting to see our new leadership get right to work, repairing our government and our alliances, and to see positive, upbeat people once again leading our country. Oh, and it's also wonderful to have a vice president from sweet California. I think many of you in this room or this shared space, our various rooms, know me and know of my work as the only woman ever elected state superintendent of public instruction. Mind you, I come from a union family. I'm the daughter of a dress clerk and a shop steward who'd been a Navy veteran for 22 years. He was a machinist. My grandfather, though, was a teamster back when they rode teams of horses. I've discovered a lot of people don't know that's where that name comes from. So back in San Francisco in the long ago, I joined the California Federation of Teachers when I was a community college professor, and I have had a wonderful life because I had this wonderful education. I thank my parents, yes, but I was privileged to grow up in California at a time when education was such a priority, from elementary school to graduate school. My formative experiences as an adult were aided by this sweet Democratic Party and my time in public service. And I want to give back to the party, help elect more Democrats, and turn California bluer than blue. I'm running to become chair of our party because we can and we must do better. After the November election, a bunch of engaged Democrats called me and drafted me to run. They were very concerned that even in the face of a huge victory for Biden and Harris, we had suffered major losses in targeted congressional seats and in state propositions. We would have been more likely to have held on to those lost seats. And we lost 4 congressional seats in California. That was a third of what was lost in the entire nation, even though Biden and Harris won by a huge margin of 10 points here. So we've been much more likely to have held on to those lost seats with increased staff and outreach, a better field plan, targeted messaging, and stronger management and organization. We needed to provide much more in the way of resources. And frankly, we need to bolster our tickets. So I want to create an inclusive and unified California Democratic Party that not only wins back seats we lost, but trains and supports a diverse group of Democratic candidates up and down the ballot and all over the state. And yes, that means in nonpartisan races, which is where we build and train a bench of leaders who are ready to step up when the time comes to run for partisan office. And yes, that means women and people of color in proportion to their numbers in our party running for office and winning, as well as appointed to leadership positions in the party. Having been elected and served at all levels of state government, local city council, state legislature, and a state constitutional officer, but I was also a local officer of the Democratic Party. I can tell you that I know how to win races and how to mentor others to win races. We need a much more robust training program, not just for candidates, but for our elected party leaders. I know what successful mentoring looks like because I had those mentors in my life, and they made me a much more effective manager and leader. My first campaign slogan was, "Because we can do better." And I know from my decades of leadership, that is an apt slogan for the state of California Democratic Party. How can we do better? We bring back the voters we lost because they feel heard. We can allow people to disagree with us without fear of retaliation or shunning. And we can welcome healthy debate, knowing that we all want what is best for our beautiful state. We can lead with optimism, not fear. When I am chair, we will stand for what our platform says we stand for. We'll be championing clean money, campaign finance reform, environmental justice, social justice, and Medicare for all. And of course, we will make child development and education our party priority, as the state of California Constitution says that it should be. My teams have always been diverse in many ways, and that includes politically. The so-called Hillary, Kamala, Elizabeth, and Bernie people work side by side on my campaign, committed to improving our party and our state. I will unite our party, and we will move forward on a shared mission to create a Democratic Party that everybody wants to be part of. And I'm excited to bring a sense of optimism and enthusiasm and teamwork to the party, and we'll have some fun doing it. Finally, it's important to note that the party has not, California Democratic Party has not elected a woman to be our chair in over 35 years. Republicans managed to elect a woman as chair in 2019. So it's really time for us to wake up and understand that we can and we must do better. So again, I thank you. I want our party to reflect our democratic values, not only on the platform, but in the ways we raise money to fund our work and the way our decisions are made. Thank you all very much, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. There's one question in the chat. Can you tell us your position on charter schools? There is some confusing information on social media about it.
Yes, it's so interesting that people try to twist the truth. So I did carry a charter school bill, and what it said was you could have collective bargaining at your charter school. Imagine a Democrat who supported that. And I had also said that the charters ought to be granted locally, not by people that live counties away and can't do any oversight to save their lives. My bill got vetoed by Pete Wilson. He signed Gary Hart's bill, and Gary Hart's bill didn't require collective bargaining and allows what's going on right now, which should be upsetting to most of you. There are some charters that really exist because kids want to do music and they're much more music oriented. And there are There's a very fine one that operates out of Vista Unified in San Diego, but it's at all the Job Corps sites for men and women who've essentially dropped out of school at 13 or 14 or 50, maybe to have a baby, maybe because they went to jail. But that it takes kids that aren't going to graduate by the time they're 18 because they've been out of school 2 or 3 years and they were 2 or 3 years behind when they left. But it does, in fact, give they are able to live at the Job Corps sites where they're going to school, and they're having an amazing impact. But that is not the worst of the charters. The worst of the charters cherry pick the best and brightest kids, and they don't. Literally, one charter told some parent, "Oh, you don't want to send your special needs child here. We won't have a special education teacher." That's illegal. And so I'm very clear that the charter bill was badly written and it's been abused, and it's cost a lot of districts a lot of money.
Madam
Needs to
Chair,
be-
we have 18 seconds left in the 2 minutes allotted for the Q&A. Do you want to make it 5 instead of 2?
Let's have one more question.
Okay.
Okay, the second question is, will you make a commitment? Sorry, my screen jumped as soon as will you make a commitment to keep ADEM elections so everyone can participate through either electronically or vote by mail?
Yes, we're going to have very open ADEM elections when I'm chair of the party. We're not going to have the backroom dealing that's been going on. And we're not going to have people doing some of the very strange and inappropriate things. Let me just tell you, we should not be taking fossil fuel money. The party voted not to. The current chair said he would not. And yet when the opportunity came, he took the money. The fact is that we promised the dreamers that we would create a space for them in our party, and then we didn't. So we need somebody who's not only talk the talk, but walk the walk, and going to actually stand up for the things the Democratic Party stands for and make sure that we have a platform that really isn't namby-pamby, but has substance and has real direction, and it'll help the leadership in the legislature and in other places to do what's right for our future.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
I'm going to
for
race
coming.
because still got 2 more events, and I already did one tonight. So 2 tonight. So it's a wild time. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Madam Chair, we're back to you, and I don't see, and maybe Tom knows if, I don't see Rusty in the,
Rusty here?
No, he's,
not yet.
Okay, so
No.
we'll go on the agenda and we'll have him when he arrives. So we're at public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make a public comment?
Monica Brown, you're recognized through the chair.
It's 2 minutes. Hold on 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
So I just want to let you know that one of the interesting people who come to the Board of Supervisors, Dennis Allen, who said that COVID-19 was a hoax and was one of the group that refused to wear masks. Unfortunately, because of that, he was hospitalized and died last Wednesday of COVID-19.
Oh, God.
He was one of the gentlemen that did the Heil Hitler. And we have gone virtual because on the day that we were sworn in, which my 2 children are there and Judge Steve was there, I kept them as isolated as possible. They refused to wear masks and we had to shut down the meeting for a half hour. So I just want to share it with you. He comes from Fairfield. We thought he was Vacaville. Sorry, Vacaville. Because we do have interesting people from around the county, but I just wanted to give you FYI, and that was my, that's my information. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll move down to the executive board report.
Sorry, there's a hand that just came up, Madam Chair. Bonnie Hamilton, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just want to take off on what Supervisor Brown said. I am a member of the Solano County Medical Society, and we are writing a letter to the county requesting that they enforce the mask mandate in their building, particularly the employees of the county and anyone who comes into the building. We as a medical society request that they enforce that mask mandate. So I just want to let folks know that.
Susan
Thank you.
George. Susan George.
Hold on 1 second. I need to reset. Okay, I'm ready.
You're
Should I go- should I
you're
go?
recognized, Susan. You're
Thank
recognized.
you so much. I just wanted to speak about very briefly what I mentioned in the chat. I am not speaking to any of the assembly districts that are present here today. I'm not focusing on anyone, but I do want you to know that there is proof that people have been requesting ballots from paid lists, whether that be PDI lists, whether that be county lists, that they've been signing people up in their districts to vote without their consent. So people are receiving ballots without having requested them. I want you to know that this has been proven. Unfortunately, it appears that there's nothing in the bylaws or in the rules now that addresses this, because I don't think anyone really foresaw it. But it just shows, and by the way, this is not, and I'm being very careful not to pinpoint anyone in particular, but there are certain organizations that are doing this that are both in the more established fields as well as in the more progressive arena. So I want you to know it is that people are taking advantage of this in a very perverse way. And I just think it's improper. I think it's wrong. And I think if anyone has been doing this, that you should be held accountable. And with that, that's all I have to say.
Thank
Jeannie
you.
White. Jeannie White.
I just wanted to actually call attention to and to acknowledge what was a difficult city council meeting in Vacaville last night. And I did want to actually acknowledge and to let everyone know that was not able to listen to it, that that several of the city council people were kind of, they were called out using negative comments. And I wanted to compliment our city council member, Jeanette Wiley, for her response in pushing back in a really, really professional and still compassionate way. And she did a great job along with with Nolan Sullivan as well. But I just wanted everyone to know that it was a difficult meeting, and Jeanette acquitted herself really, really well in a very difficult situation. So good job, Jeanette.
Thanks. It was almost 3 hours of public comment, and about 20 of them were slamming Wiley and Sullivan from a script that people had forwarded to other friends to say, here, say this about Wiley and Sullivan, not knowing it was, it wasn't even true. So anyway, such as it is for public life, I guess.
Matthew, you've been recognized through the chair. Matthew, your hand's up.
You're on mute. He's on mute, rather.
I'm really sorry about that. It's having some technical difficulties. I just wanted to follow up with what Susan George was saying. I mean, I have encountered evidence from people throughout the entire state, from all wakes of our party, who have experienced and reported that they have received ballots that they did not request. And what this suggests is that across our state, there are vast forces at work who are actively ordering ballots on behalf of people who did not actually request them. And whether or not there is a ruling in our party as to whether or not this is legal or whether it's in accordance with our policy. What I can definitely tell you is that because people have access to voter lists, it shouldn't give them the right to bilk the party for the additional postage of people who may or may not vote. It shouldn't give the right for like really well-connected organizations to ensure that the only people who get ballots in this election are the people who are most likely to vote for their candidates and their special interests, and to drown out the grassroots. And it occurs to me that for us to be real Democrats, we have to signal very clearly about this. And it would be in the best interest of this body and everyone in it to affirm that such practices, if they are not already outside of the realm of the realm of what is just and moral and right for our Democratic Party, if they're not already outside that realm, then they darn well ought to be. And we should signal very clearly our denunciation of anyone who does those kinds of practices and make it clear that it should not be a part of our practice and it cannot be a part of our practice if we are to have a sustainable party in this state. And if this body can find some way to please signal about that during this session or the next, that would be very much appreciated.
Thank you. I see Chairman Rusty's on.
Okay, let's invite Rusty to speak.
Give him the parameters before you start.
Hello, Rusty. Hi. So Rusty will be speaking for 5 minutes to introduce himself and talk about his platform. And then there will be 2 minutes of questions. And the vice chairs will be taking the questions from the chat. They'll be reading them. So thank you. Glad to have you here.
Good deal. Well, thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity, and thank you, Democrats, for the opportunity to be here with you this evening. Happy New Year, happy Inauguration Day, plus a week. I committed that my new year would start on January the 20th, 2021, because I was committed to making sure that I gave 2021 a shot of actually being a good year. And certainly, I think the extension on 2020 has reminded us of the importance of our work. Obviously, what we saw was an insurrection incited by a now twice impeached president. But I think more importantly is we saw more than 140 congressional Republicans attempt to overturn the will of the American people, enabling a sitting president of the United States. And often, even here in the deep blue California, we forget about what I call the seditious seven plus Tom McClintock. Reality is that we had some congressional Republicans right here in California that sought to overturn the will of the American people. And so the organizing work that we do day in and day out, year after year after year, in red, blue, and purple parts of the state is so incredibly important. I was really proud of what we were able to do together in 2020 through the statewide coordinated campaign. Through that campaign, we engaged more than 57,000 Democrats all across California and around the country through phone calls, text messages, postcards, and so many other ways. But it wasn't just the voters that we engaged. It was the statewide days of action. It was the regional house parties. It was the census phone banks we did. It was the data platforms, the organizing tools, the postcards that we provided to county committees to support your work, not only for federal and state candidates, but for local candidates as well. We need to be doing that work on a year-round basis, not just to win elections, but ultimately to advocate for the passage of policies that improve people's lives, harnessing the power of 10 million Democrats to improve the lives of 40 million Californians. So one, my hope is we can do that work on a year-round basis. Two, I think we have to continue to invest in the infrastructure of the party to tell our story in a new and different way in urban and rural parts of the state. We've got to invest in our training infrastructure to be able to recruit and train the next generation of public servants and grassroots leaders. We've begun to do that already and have had some phenomenal victories on the local level. We need to double down on that. 3, I think we've got to continue to invest in the fundraising infrastructure of our party. The reality is that we need a significant amount of small dollar donor contributions to be able to fund the work of our party. I was proud that we raised more than $2 million in small dollar donor contributions. And we have a goal to raise 3 million over the course of the next election cycle. And lastly, we've got to continue to make the cultural change that we started in 2019, ensuring that every person is seen, every voice is heard, and every Democrat who is committed to our common purpose of making this state a California that works for everybody. As many of you know, I've had the opportunity to meet and connect with many of you over the course of the last 2 years. I've been in this role about 18 months. There are days where it feels like it's been 18 years, but it's only been 18 months. And I'm hoping to earn the opportunity to continue to do this important work so that we can continue to grow this party. The reality is that we gained more than 1.4 million new Democrats, 1.4 million new Democrats in the last 18 months alone. And these new Democrats are reflective of the great diversity of our state. They're reflective of the great diversity of our party. My hope is that I'd love to have your support to earn your vote. We'll include in the chat some information on how you can connect with the campaign. I'll be reaching out to many of you and asking you for your support. But thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening and look forward to the continued conversation. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Rusty. We have our first question. Will you make climate change a bigger part of the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. I mean, I believe our platform is probably one of the strongest platforms in the country when it comes to environmental policy and climate change. I think we obviously have a president who has placed it as a priority, and our party can continue to push that all across California. So yes.
Okay, there is another question. Let me find it. Will you make a commitment to keep ADEM elections so that everyone can participate via electronic ballots or vote by mail? And then there's a second part to that question, so I'll let you answer that one first.
Yeah, I think just as we did in 2019, I think we have to review the process that took place in 2021. The reality is that we have had a 4-fold increase in the number of ballots that have been requested from those who participated in 2019. It's a great opportunity, organizing opportunity for our party. I would love to see it go from 170,000 people to 350,000 people engaging with our party. I look forward to the review on how we can improve the process that we've had to put in place because of a pandemic. But I believe mailing folks a ballot is a great opportunity to do that.
Okay, and then our final question, or not final question, how many more minutes do we have?
30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, what is your suggestion for holding Democratic legislators to our party platform when they may vote against LGBTQ legislation sponsored by the LGBTQ Caucus and Equality California?
Well, I think if there is any violation of the platform, I think what we have to do is, yes, we'll work hard to get people elected, but it's my view that electing Democrats is only half of the job. We have to continue to organize after Election Day in order to push electeds to do the right thing, cover them when they do the right thing, and hold them accountable when they don't. We can pass a resolution and we can make a statement, but ultimately the real power lies in 10 million Democrats in the state, and we have to be organizing them every single day, year in and year out, in order to see the platform brought to life.
Madam Chair, that's the
Okay.
time.
Thank you, Rusty. Thank you for coming and answering our questions.
Thank you for the opportunity. Good to be with everyone.
Okay. Night.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll be moving on with our meeting. Bye, Rusty. Nice to see you. Executive board report. Well, so our executive meeting was on the 6th of January. So I have to say we were all a little on edge because that was the day that the Capitol was overrun by seditionists. So, yes.
Please mute yourselves.
Sorry, Madam Chair, that was me. I was checking on the feed. Sorry.
So, are we ready?
Go ahead, Margie, finish.
Yes. So we talked about the ADEM elections and the ADEM candidates, and we decided the best way for candidates to introduce themselves was through the clubs, which they did. So thank you, clubs, for stepping up. I'm very proud of all our clubs and what they're doing. I'm going to ask the board, is there anything I'm forgetting? We had kind of a short meeting.
We need to recognize Matthew. His hand is up.
Matthew?
Thank you. I just wanted to let everybody know that today is International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And it's a good day to reach out to your Jewish friends, to let them know that you support them, to connect to them, and to remember the 6 million Jews and 6 million others who were lost in the fires of Europe and the fires of hatred, some of which still
Matthew,
burn.
I'm going to interrupt you here. That's going to come under your club report when your club gets to report. Okay?
Point of order.
Thank you, but good point.
We never closed public
when it's your report time, that will be the time that you can bring forward whatever you'd like. But we thought this had to do with Margie's report. Okay?
I apologize. I hadn't realized that public comment was closed. That was never officially, that's simply
Yeah, we're kind of loosey-goosey tonight, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So that was public comment. So, well, thank you. We'll all remember that. International Holocaust Day. So moving to the chair's report, I would like everybody to send me at chair@solanodemocrats.com. Send me your favorite part of the inauguration. I'd just like to hear from everyone. What was your favorite part? And we'll move to officers' reports.
Thank you.
Tiffany and Tiffany.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. I asked that my report be the District 1 caucus be included in my report. The committee should have gotten a copy of that report, and so I do want to go ahead and let you guys know the recommendation. So the District 1 caucus met regarding the vacancy left in District 1, and we are recommending to the body for ratification tonight that Leilani Quezada and her alternate be appointed to fill the vacancy in District 1.
So Tiffany, that on behalf of the District 1 caucus?
Yes, that is on behalf of the District 1 caucus that met on January the 12th.
So all in favor? Do we need discussion on that since it was, no, we don't. Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So welcome Leilani Quesada to District 1 to represent the district. I could swear you in now. I noticed that you were worried about coming in early, but I think it's more appropriate to be sworn in now anyway. So
Alternate available? Is her alternate here?
yeah, Leilani and your alternate. Can you unmute yourselves and
Okay, myself and Phil Maui Wilson are here.
great. Okay. So you're going to say, so I state your name. So I, Leilani.
I, Leilani Quesada.
Do so, and your alternate at the same time. I,
Phil Wilson.
thank you. Okay. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the
and
Constitution
defend
of the
United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
And the Constitution of the State of California.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California.
That I will
bear faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and
oh my God.
the Constitution of the State of California.
Okay.
That I take this obligation freely.
And I take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any mental purpose
reservation or purpose of evasion.
Without any reservation or purpose of evasion.
It's almost done. I will well and faithfully.
I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. You're now a member of the Solano County Democratic Central Committee.
Thank you.
So we have written reports from the officers. Did information resource officer, did you want to say anything about your report?
Yes, Madam Chair. In my report, I spoke about the Zoom subscription plan. We've currently spent $225.20 on services so far. If we are going to continue to use this service for the rest of the year, I would suggest that we go ahead and get the a yearly plan subscription for $299.80. It will be a savings of like $67. But not knowing what the pandemic's going to do, I wanted to bring it before the committee so that we can make a decision together.
So now what's the date that is expiring the contract that we have now?
We're on month to month, and so it costs us extra because it's month to month. So this would be a yearly subscription for the Zoom services only. And this is for 2 licensed users. And the reason we had that was because whenever we were doing training, we had some meetings that were on top of each other. So we had to get an extra license so we could have meetings going at the same time.
So you are asking for $299.80 for the rest, for the 2000.
It'll be for 12 more months. So it will take us through to January of next year.
Lynette's hands up for a question when you're ready, Chair.
Yeah. Madam Chair, I move that we purchase the 2 licenses for Zoom.
I second.
So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2 licenses for 1 year. All in favor, say aye.
Oh, whoa.
No, debate.
And there's another
discussion.
hand. But I just wanted to support all that Tom has said. I use Zoom for another organization, and it has just been invaluable. And I did not realize we were still on a month to month. So thanks for saving us some money.
Yeah.
Don had
Any other
his hand up.
discussion?
I was actually had my hand up to make the motion, but that's okay. I think we should do that because we should keep this up, because even if and when we ever get back to live, I still think there's plenty of times where we could skip having an in-person meeting and have some of our committee meetings and other work via Zoom and save on gas and all that effort. So we should do it for the full year.
Yeah.
I don't see any other I don't see any other hands up.
So
I did notice, and one thing, just if I may, Madam Chair.
yes.
I did notice in the chat, Jana Medina was asking about 2 licenses. Jana, that I looked at how we could have just 1 license, but we have some committee meetings that happen on the same day and overlap. And I don't want there to be a problem with not being able to have committee meetings. And so that's why we have the 2 licenses. It also helps that if there is a backup, so like right now it's Tiffany Jones, so she can be a backup in case like I call in Rich. That's the good part, or something else happens.
Okay. Is there any more discussion? We'll close discussion, and all those in favor of getting the service, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Oh, I'm not opposed. I was in favor.
Thank you. So this has been approved. Thank you, Information
Okay.
Resource Officer.
Yep.
Everyone else has a written report unless there is something that they need to announce from one of the clubs or supervisor, assembly districts. Okay.
So did Matthew want to make a club report now? This is his time.
Okay, and Matthew, you get 2 minutes, so this would be a great time to finish up what you were trying to bring in public comment.
Yes.
You get
1 moment, please.
Okay, I don't start the timer till you start talking, so you got 2 whole minutes.
Sorry about that. So I wanted to begin by taking a moment for us to give some thought about the relentless, the relentless wheel of bigotry that we've lived through, and that we continue to live through. And Holocaust Remembrance Day is not just about Jews. It's about the history of bigotry in the Western world and the world more broadly, generally. And as we struggle with these issues going forward, I wanted to tell all of you that as a Jew and as a Jew who's outspoken in our community on issues that affect us, I stand in solidarity with all of you in your respective struggles for liberation. And further, that I stand with the values of this party because it is the party that stands with our values as a people who deserve liberation, as all peoples do. And then I would like to clarify, I do have a club report in hand. And is this a good time for me to read it?
This is your time. You have 50 seconds left.
All right. Well, our regularly scheduled meeting was moved up 30 minutes. It took place on Zoom, hosted for us by the Stonewall Democratic Club. We asked members to provide a statement of values, and we called upon the leaders in our district in 8014 to speak in the wake of the January 2021 insurrection. They where the letter was read at the beginning of an online rally held on Zoom with other community leaders, other Democratic clubs. And it featured representatives of those clubs, as well as Vallejo Mayor Robert McConnell, Benicia Mayor Steve Young, Vallejo Councilperson Mina Diaz, and many other local leaders. We were happy to have had our statement read at the outset of that meeting. And we were a proud sponsor of the event called Stand Up for Democracy and Stand Against Tyranny. In addition, we endorsed 8M candidates. After Stonewall's meeting, Stonewall actually had the candidates interviewed, and we endorsed the progressive slate in 8014, which is
Matthew, the chair, I guess, didn't hear the timer. Your time
Oh,
is
sorry.
ended. And so go ahead and finish as close
okay,
as you can. Okay.
Almost done. We endorsed 8014 progressives for change. The slate includes Brenda Crawford, Matthew Finkelstein, Ruskell Young, Susan George, Steve Sillen, Carrie Birdseye, Leilani Casada, Phil Wilson, Tom Bilbo, Susanna Delano. And we from 8011, we endorsed Hannah Hunley, Don Lowry, and Jonathan Cook. And at our next meeting, we're going to be discussing outreach and planning goals for 2021.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Matthew.
Jeanette, Madam Chair, Jeanette Wiley's hand is up, please.
Right. I just wanted to say I will go ahead and forward that report. I saw that it was sent like shortly before 6, so I will forward it out so everyone can read it. So that's right. You know, I got several other reports today, and I tried to forward them as I get it. But if possible, it sure helps if we can have them by Sunday, and then I'll send them out Sunday or Monday, and then people have a chance to read them all.
Yes, and that's what we are attempting to have all of the reports written so that you don't have to spend a lot of time in the meeting unless you have something really important. And I'm hoping that the clubs will get together and make the reports to the club coordinating committee, so we can have, you know, one report of all the special activities that are coming up.
Lynette, you're recognized.
Thank you. Could I can't find the agenda. Could you share the agenda for us and where we are? Because I thought we were having the officers report.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of skipped ahead, and I've had something else to say too. Did you have something, a report, Lynette?
I just didn't know where we were on the agenda. When you finish, I just had my parliamentarians report on the bylaws because I don't know if it's
Okay. I can.
Do we have a written treasurer's report tonight? There's not a treasurer's report tonight. There's a comment in the chat. That's why I'm asking that question.
Yeah, I think Jeanette just said that she was going to send it out late because I had gotten it in late to people.
I got it this afternoon, and I tried to send it, but it wouldn't. I couldn't open it because it said ORD, or it wasn't in a form that I could open. So we'll have to work on that and see if we can get it sent out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Morgan and Jeanette. Yeah, I guess I didn't put, why don't you give the parliamentarians report, Lynette?
Thank you. Good evening, Democrats. We had a scheduled bylaws committee meeting on the day of the insurrection, and the day just took me for a loop. And it was, you know, I just kept thinking, okay, I can get through it, but it was so hard to watch what happened that day, to then try to host a meeting of important pieces for our central committee. So it was canceled very late, probably maybe an hour, if that much time before then. But I do plan to have a meeting on the sometime in February. I'll make sure that it is sent out timely so that we can get back on track. But that day, as Margie and many of you have said, was a day that was so hard. And I can get through a lot of stuff, but the only thing for me that just kept flashing through my head was you might as well have had white sheets, the KKK walking through the halls, or the night riders of old running through the halls. And as Matthew said earlier, if you've been a person through persecution, whether you're Black or Jewish or whichever group that you belong to that's been persecuted, that insurrection on that day just cut to the core of all of us for so many reasons. And so I say that within my report, but I also say it that as part of our leadership, you know, the 20th was a day of celebration, and thank God, but it's still tough because we're still going through the pieces of that. So thank you, and sorry for any of you that were inconvenienced by the late call of canceling that meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Lynette, and thank you for, I think you speak for all of us, how the shock of the events on the 6th of January. I forgot part of my officer's report. I wanted to make a report on the Code of Conduct Committee. I think everyone knows Karen Sims was the co-chair along with Rhonda Smith. And they'd had a one meeting and they were going to get back together, and Karen had to cancel it. And so they were left a little bit up in the air. But Rhonda has agreed to go forward, and she asked if Leilani would be, Leilani was on the committee, and Leilani is going to move up to co-chair. And the two of them are going to work together. They want to focus on making a document that has guidelines to be used for meetings and for the membership. And they will be making proposals that we will put in the bylaws and adopt as standing rules. So one of the first things they offered to do was help us coordinate the Robert's Rules of Order meeting, training. They noticed in the group had noticed that part of the problems that we have with our conduct is that people don't really understand the structure of a meeting. So they were planning on focusing on getting us some training first off. Of course, they have to have a meeting, and they will be setting that up and letting their committee members know. And Leilani and Rhonda, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just like to say when I got to speak to you, and thank you for taking the time to speak with me on the phone. As someone stepping into a position as a delegate, I asked if there was any kind of welcoming materials for someone joining on to get trained to be up and running and moving with the committee, and finding out that there's not a welcome packet or anything like that. I asked if there was a retreat, and I believe that's further down the agenda. So I'll make a proposal regarding that when we get to that item on the agenda.
Thank you. Okay, club coordination. And officers, did I skip anybody? Club coordination committee, Jeannie and Mona.
The Club Coordination Committee did not meet in January. We will be meeting in February on the 22nd. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, Vernile and Tiffany, did you want to say anything about the fundraising?
I just want to announce, this is Vernile, announce that tomorrow we have a planning meeting with the fundraiser committee. I believe invitations went out to the ones who signed up tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. per Zoom.
Thank you.
Via Zoom.
Okay. So we voted on our representative. Welcome, Leilani. And there was a state party e-board January 16th. And I asked Monica Brown as our representative if she would say a few words about what happened there. And Lynette Hanley, of course, is the Region 2 director, so she has another hat, and I asked if she would make a report on that. So Monica, would you like to tell us about the e-board?
Well, when we met, everything that we had discussed got all changed as you kept getting updated on the emails. So originally it was, can it be postmarked on the 27th, and then you have 3 days, and then now it's morphed into whatever the current flavor is. So we spent most of the time talking about how to make that work. I did put something in the chat dealing with the fact that there was a motion, and a motion was made to let those folks who are running for ADEM have access to the names of the people who asked for ballots. That was defeated. The rationale, based on the people who were opposed to it, was that we had told that people who asked for ballots, it would be kept in confidence. Really? This is the Democratic Party where when you vote, you sign your name to everything. So you can go back and look at how people voted. So I'm not sure what went down, but anyway, so that's basically 4 hours worth of a Saturday morning.
Okay. Thank you, Monica.
Oh, and by the way, I voted to have that information released. So, but I obviously did not prevail.
Thank you. I have to say, actually, it made me feel a little better about these meetings when I watched that meeting. That took such a long time discussing process. Lynette?
Monica, pretty much, we had a 1-item meeting that should have taken 1 hour to get through, which took 4 hours. We were ratifying what happened at was it November, Monica? November e-board meeting. And we needed to ratify the process for ADEMS that we were already in place. And as a regional director who would have had to, well, none of the regional directors could secure locations to have in-person elections like we've had in the past, which is on its, and this would have, last weekend would have been the rainy Saturday or Sunday that you would have met to give your 1-minute speech to convince the voting populace to vote for you. And so the grab for delegates is the same grab that's always been there. You call all your friends, you call their friends, and they call their friends and say, show up on Saturday, vote. You don't have to listen to the speeches. Come in and vote, get your ballot, and go home. And so it's just morphed into something more. As you can see, if you go to the website, you'll see by districts how many people have requested ballots, however they got requested. But I remember 15 years ago, you only needed 50 votes to be elected to ADEMS. You could get 50 people to show up wherever it was. And we're in District 14. Well, I'm in 14. But sometimes you were in Santa Rosa, sometimes you were in Contra Costa, you know, it was just where you could get your people to go. So I hope that we stay with the vote by mail. I hope that it gets improved. But as a regional director, we just came together and says, you're putting everybody in jeopardy. And just prior to what Monica said about people showing up with no mask and all of that, how were we supposed to handle all that? So I'm excited about the election. I think it's exciting to have so many people that participated. You know, I called my niece and her partner in LA, and I said, I don't know what ADEM you're in, but you need to request a ballot. Look on there. You must know some of those people. Vote for them. And then my friends here that never would have come over to Concord or down to Pittsburgh to vote said, oh, this is great. I'll do this. But if I had to drive over for a Saturday and give it up to come over there. So that was it. I think that this process has taken us way too much in and out about it because it was a bylaw change and not a standing rule. And I think some of this stuff needs to be in standing rules as opposed to the bylaws as we move forward. But I just want to, as a regional director, I'm so excited to see so much participation from Solano County in the ADEM elections. Often it's just Contra Costa that in our AD 11 and AD 14 that participate. So, and I think the slates have been great, and the opportunities for all the candidates to kind of reach out and get their voting population in place. And it's actually given, I think, people more time to do than they have before. This is my second time having to kind of be in charge of the election. My first time was just kind of scary because it was so many people showing up, and it wasn't even the COVID time. It was just so many people showing up to have to give your 1-minute speech, and people were already voting before the speeches. After the first, speech was given, people were like, okay, I can vote now, and they voted and left. So congratulations to all of you. I can't wait to see how many of us in Solano County get elected. And I think that's it. Anything else, Monica, that I might have missed?
No, I have like 3 pages of notes to keep track of who was doing what. But
Who's on?
the key is though that we need to, when this is all said and done, have to assess, because I think that local polling places can be done. And there's been issues in the past that if you have a big district that it's at one end or the other. And I think there's better ways to do it. My concern was the fact that when I go to vote in a regular election, I'm talking a regular November, March, whenever, that when I'm a candidate, I can access people who have decided to register to vote. My concern was the party knows the people who at that time who had decided to vote. And yet we could not get a list because, quote, we told them it would be anonymous. No one would know that they were getting a ballot. That's just the opposite of what we've tried to work on over the decades. So that's my big concern. So, but anyway, it's not a tonight problem.
That's a fair concern, because even if when we were doing in person, if I wanted to say who's an accomplishment, I'm not sure who's talking, but they need to mute themselves. I'm not like if I were running and I wanted to see, did Vernile vote for Lynette Henley? I can say, may I see Vernile's ballot? And I could say, oh, she voted for me or she didn't. So yeah, so there you go. So we have some kinks to get out, but today was the last day to turn in, to have a postmark on it, and hopefully.
No, that got changed.
No, the postmark
February.
is still the 7th. No, the postmark is still the 27th. It's received.
No,
by.
but that got changed.
I'm not going to debate it. I won't debate it.
We'll disagree.
Thank you, Margie. Thank you, Margie. And then our new e-board people, are they the same people? No, it's you and Paula now, right?
Yes.
Okay, her and Paula, and they take office after the April convention. They'll go to the August e-board.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you. Oh, I think that's helpful to have that report. Next, we have a resolution from the Stonewall Democratic Club.
There's a hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Susan.
I wrote it in the chat. No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. I see it.
Okay. Thank you. Stonewall Club.
Yes. Hi, Madam Chair. So we at our meeting that we have now moved our meetings to the 3rd Thursday of each month so that we can be before the Central Committee meeting, because we were after. Anyway, we passed a resolution regarding the outcome of the investigation into the Willie McCoy shooting incident that occurred at a Taco Bell here in Vallejo, where he was shot over 30 times by police outside of his car, by 6 police people outside of his car in the space of 52 times. Thank you, Susan. In the space of less than a minute. And I was, the resolution was sent to everyone today, and I would like to ask if Susan George, who actually authored the resolution for the club, could read it so that we could have that read onto the video, and also ask if the Solano Democratic Central Committee would sign on to be a sponsor of that resolution as well. So in my time, I'd like to yield my time to Susan George to read the resolution.
Thank you, Tom. I'm not the only one that wrote this. I led the writing of it, but I had lots of help. Resolution on the need for justice to prevail in Solano County District Attorney investigations and prosecutions of police use of force incidents. Whereas when Krishna Abrams was elected as Solano County District Attorney, she took an oath to uphold the law and to prosecute criminal violations. However, in her 6 years in office, she has found in all cases of fatal shootings by police that they were without exception acting in self-defense, even though in Vallejo there have been 19 killings by police officers in the last decade, and Vallejo police have the highest rate of lethal force in all of Northern California. And whereas in the case of Willie McCoy, a 20-year-old who was sleeping in his car at the drive-thru of a Taco Bell, the Abrams-appointed special prosecutor, Michael Ramos, found in January 2021 that the six police officers acted in self-defense, though they had fired, it's 55 bullets at Willie McCoy in the span of 3.5 seconds after he stirred from his sleep, with no evidence in multiple videos that McCoy pointed a gun or threatened the officers. And in the case of 33-year-old Ronell Foster, who was unarmed and shot multiple times in the back of the head by Officer Ryan McMahon and was cleared by Abrams in January 2020 of any wrongdoing after McMahon gave chase to Ronell Foster for riding his bicycle without a headlamp. Yet in a civil case brought by the family of Ronell Foster, the city of Vallejo paid $5.7 million in settlement, and McMahon was one of the officers found responsible for killing Willie McCoy. And whereas District Attorney Abrams also found that Officer Zachary Jacobson was acting in self-defense when he fatally shot 21-year-old Angel Ramos for allegedly hovering over another man on the back porch with a knife. Though there was no video of the shooting, no knife found on the porch, and Ramos's family and the man Ramos was purportedly attacking all maintain that Ramos was unarmed when he was fatally shot by Officer Jacobson. Therefore, be it resolved that the Solano County Democratic Party affirms its commitment to ensure Black Lives Matter in word and deed, condemns the culture of undue violence by police and those who enable it, and calls for justice to prevail in Solano County District Attorney investigations and prosecutions of police use of force cases.
Thank you, Susan. And so just in follow-up, or finishing up. So that is, it's not just about Willie McCoy, it's about the overall use of force and lack of basic de-escalation tactics that's used by the police here in Vallejo and pretty much all over this country. But this is dealing with the issues that have happened here in Vallejo. And so for that, I'm done with my presentation.
When you recognize Lynette's hands up through the chair.
Lynette?
I just had a couple of questions, not so much about the resolution, but process. So my first question is, besides asking us to endorse that, where would it go from there? And I have another question after that.
It would be on our website like the other resolutions that we have done, as well as it would be a press release out to the local press.
So it would just stay in Solano County?
Well, I mean, it'd be picked up by wires, I would assume, maybe, but it would be, it's targeted to Solano County, not to anywhere else.
Okay, so the reason I was asking that is because if you want it to be a resolution on Black Lives Matter or police brutality or whatever, for the state party to endorse a resolution, maybe naming some of the people that you named in there, you might want to consider, if you do that, there's a format that the resolutions committee requires from the state party for a resolution to go forward. So I'm in support of the resolution, but if we want to take it past Solano County as part of the state party, major revisions have to happen. Susan, I think you've done resolutions for the state party before. And if not, I have a couple of people that could work with you to get it in the format, hopefully to move it forward. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Lynette. And just to clarify, right now our goal is just to deal with the issue that we have here in Solano County. Anything that would go into the state party, of course, that would be a sort of separate topic. But this one is specific to Solano County.
Don Lowry's hands up.
Don?
To some extent echoing what Lynette said, I support this resolution as it's written, but I do think we should go beyond that ultimately, and ask our people who are on the state resolutions committee to be on the lookout for like resolutions at the state level that this committee can support, and ask our members who are on the legislation committee that if there's legislation dealing with police misconduct, that we could endorse to let us know so that we can take a stand on this. Because it's, even though Vallejo's become rather notorious and was written up earlier this week in the LA Times, an article about Vallejo was referenced by the LA Times. It's not just a Vallejo problem, it's a fairly systemic problem, and I think we should take a position on all of the issues up and down the state and across the country.
There's a hand up. I'm sorry,
Madam
Tom.
Chair, yeah, no, sorry. If I could just, through the chair, respond to Don. Thank you, Don, for that. And I would like to say that there are some legislation, sorry, that's the wrong word. There are some bills coming through that are dealing with decertifying cops that have misbehaved. And I'm using that as a loose term, but who have problems. So there are some of those that we can get behind.
Matt's hands up.
Yes.
Matthew?
Thank you. I would like to demystify the notion that the resolution that's being put before you today, that I'm proud to say I had a small hand in contributing to, I want to demystify the notion that this needs to go to the state in the current form that it's in, or that a resolution can't speak to the needs of the county itself and be uniquely addressed to the county and to the voters here. Krishna Abrams is coming up for elections. It's our obligation as Democrats to signal very clearly to other Democrats and leaders in our community where our real values are. If this passes here, I intend to forward it to every voting Democrat in Solano to let them know what the Central Committee's opinions are about Krishna Abrams and the job that she's done, to put maximum pressure on her. And I don't think that it's necessarily fair to automatically assume that that has to go to the state level. We're here to address the needs of the state, sure, but we're also here to address the needs of Solano County. And I do think that there's no reason to make that an included or obligate step in the process. So I think it's fine if we focus on the problems that we have here and not on a state level. I think that's obfuscation.
There's Lynette.
Yeah.
Thank you. Matthew, I'm sorry you misunderstood what I was asking. I'm not asking that it go to the state. I'm saying if you want to take it to the next step, I'm fully aware of what the concept of this resolution was for Solano County. But as your regional director's hat, if we wanted to take it to a broader area, which that has included in the discussion, absolutely. But nobody's changed the motion to support the resolution as presented. So I'm sorry you misunderstood what I was saying. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, is there a motion to accept the?
Yeah, Tom made the motion and it was seconded.
Okay, so is there any more discussion? It's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor of accepting the resolution, say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed?
And so, Madam Chair, as the chair of the party, you should be the one sending out a press release of whatever that this has occurred, and then move from there, because you represent, you are our spokesperson.
The only thing that is bothering me is that we didn't get this resolution in writing. I think that would have been better. I would feel better about it if I had actually read it. So,
Madam Chair, it was sent
attached.
earlier before. Yeah, it was attached.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was sent with the Stonewall report.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so we will put it on our website and have a press release. Proposal for a committee to plan a retreat, Leilani.
Thank you. So this is a bit of a selfish ask, and it came from my conversation with the chair, just working to get me up to speed on what expectations are for myself in stepping into a delegate role. When you get a new job or you join an organization, there's usually some kind of orientation. And so I'd like to make an ask for a retreat. It would be a chance for all of us to come together and align to the committee's mission statement. Also a chance for us to gain training so that we can conduct business with more expedience and efficiency. And also an opportunity for us to build relationships and rapport. We're all leaders in the district, and so there's intersections where we've worked together, but it's important that we get to know each other and our identities in this committee so that we can work together towards that common goal. So I'm asking for a motion for either a planning committee for a retreat or for a retreat to be put on for the Code of Conduct Committee.
So Madam Chair, you can, so Leilani, you're asking for an ad hoc committee to be formed for the retreat.
I will give like two options. So either an ad hoc committee.
It should be a separate committee and
Okay.
not added on. That's all. I'm just trying to help you out as your parliamentarian. So
Thank you.
your motion is to have an ad hoc committee to plan a retreat, and then you can put it whatever else you want in that retreat. Okay, and I'll second that motion.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we have an ad hoc committee to plan a retreat. Is there discussion?
I have a comment on that. I just want to say that we attempted to do something like that. I think it was about a year and a half ago where we actually met at the library in Fairfield and kind of planned out what we had a discussion or wrap up of the election. And so we did that. And then we also started to plan what it was going to look like as far as the Central Committee's goals. I think it's a great idea, but I would love to see something like that, be talked about within the committee, because I think we do need to, there needs to be a reset, right? We just finished the election. We have other things like this wonderful resolution that was just brought to us that we need to be working collaboratively together. So I'm for it. Just want to make sure that that is included in it. And there was a structure that was already provided, so we can use that as well. And I saw, after I made my comment, I saw Danny Espinosa's hand.
Danny?
Oh, yeah, thank you. No, I was just going to ask to join that committee, and I agree with the retreat. It would be helpful, even from my perspective.
Okay, thank you.
Brenda
Monica
Crawford.
Brown. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Veniel. Sorry.
Brenda Crawford's hand was up before Monica's. Brenda Crawford?
Yeah, I also want to support the need for a retreat. And there are lots of other issues that need to be dealt with in terms of the way we interact as a central committee, what our values are, and how we relate to each other. And so not only do I recommend that we deal with the practical issues of the Central Committee, but some of the heavy laden emotional issues that have come about as being a part of this committee.
So are you offering to join the committee? The retreat committee?
Comments, Margie. Let's keep moving.
Yes. Oh, I do. Okay.
They can call or email you, whatever.
Okay. I wasn't clear on what.
Okay. Monica, was your hand still up?
Yes. My contention is that the maker of the motion can pull in from what was previously done, but in essence, by making the motion, she's the chair of this particular committee. People who want to join, that's fine. Any information that was previously done, send it to her. She might want to have a subset of the committee that she's setting up, but I like her enthusiasm, and some of us who have been around the block and keep going around the block and going around the block can probably help out a little bit, but it's good to have, what I call the fresh meat. So I'm in favor of it, but let's not laden her with everything at the moment. Let's just kind of start out, get ourselves to first base, but let her set up how she wants to do it. Anything that has happened in the past, we can throw that in, but let's give her a chance.
Don's hand was up. Is it still up, Don, or did you take it down? Don?
I was simply to volunteer that if my assistance would be helpful for the committee.
Okay, you got your committee growing. Tom, being recognized.
Yes, I would like to just, if I may, make a friendly amendment to the motion that we make sure that it is a COVID safe retreat. If it's going to be before anytime in the fall, because it, you know, there's some of us who just, we can't get that shit.
That was
most of us.
That was a technical term, right?
Yeah, I mean, I
this has
I'll
been
die.
recorded.
Yeah, well, that's you know, but yeah, if we could just make that motion that it's a COVID safe retreat, meaning that it's virtual, and I'll help however you need for the technical aspect of it.
I don't see any more hands. Nothing. Okay.
Okay. So did we have a second?
Yes, Leilani moved and I seconded.
Yeah, Lynette second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we form a committee to plan a retreat, which includes a welcome packet and training for.
It's been amended to COVID.
Madam Chair, the ad hoc committee will do what it needs to do. So that was the motion to have an ad hoc for retreat.
Ad hoc.
What we're voting on.
Yes.
And Leilani is the chair, correct?
Well, it's the appointment of the chair to do that, but first the motion has
And
to
the
pass.
committee, yeah, okay.
First the motion has to pass, and then you can appoint your committee chair.
So all in favor of having a retreat committee?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we're going to have a retreat committee. I'll talk to you, Leilani, about setting that up.
So she'll be your chair?
She'll be, yes, I will appoint her.
Appointment. Okay. And this time you weren't voluntold, Leilani.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really pleased that Leilani wants to step up and do this. This is something we've talked about off and on for years. And here we have somebody young and energetic that's going to help us with this. We still have some old business to go to. Bonnie, last meeting, Bonnie was still working on counting votes, so we'd like to hear a report from her. Bonnie Hamilton, are you still here?
I sure am. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks to everyone who supported me in my race. The local and state teachers associations were particularly supportive before and after Election Day, and I'm grateful to them. I initiated a recount in my race for the Solano County Board of Education, District 2. My Republican incumbent opponent was declared the winner by a margin of only 3 votes out of almost 31,000 votes cast, less than 0.01%. A recount is a rare occurrence in Solano County. The last recount was the 2007 Vallejo mayor's race with a 3-vote difference out of 11,500 votes. As a result, the outcome flipped. In my race, Election Day, the vote count flipped back and forth multiple times and was even tied at one point with 15,472 votes each. I was ahead by 2 votes until November 25th, when Napa County reported their final vote count, at which point I was behind by only 3 votes. Reporting the vote tally was complicated throughout, since Solano County Board seat included 1 precinct in Napa County, whose numbers were not reported until the Solano County numbers until the final day. So I was 19 votes ahead in Napa, while my opponent was 22 votes ahead in Solano. And because of the narrow margin, I spoke with the registrar of voters from both Solano and Napa for details about a manual recount. At the state level, an automatic recount is done at 0.015%, which is a higher margin than mine. But at the county level, the cost would be paid by whoever initiated the recount, which would be me. The process was estimated to take no more than 7 to 10 days. And I began a recount in Napa on December 11th and in Solano on December 15th. But the number of votes that could be counted each day was much less than estimated. They had said that we could count up to 6,000 per day, but on the first day, we couldn't even count 700. And my opponent slowed down the process incredibly. And although the registrar of voters got better as we went along, but it was on my dime. And I realized that it was going to take much longer and be much more expensive than they ever said it would be. Because of the county COVID numbers were rising, and on the last day, what ended up to be the last day of my recount, we went into stay-at-home order in the county building, where the DA's office and the investigator's office walked around without masks. And the registrar of voters were unable to really do good COVID measures. And I had been so careful throughout my whole campaign. And I thought, my gosh, I'm putting everybody's being put at risk here to do this. It was really, really grueling, at least for me personally. But anyway, I don't think the registrar of voters is considered an essential service. I can see voting is essential, but I don't know if a recount for County Board of Education is essential through a deadly global pandemic. So as a physician, I decided that, COVID was the deal breaker. But I do want to say that throughout the process, I was reassured of the strength and accuracy of our elections. However, no system is perfect. And that was also proven in the process. As on the last day of our recount, I challenged a ballot which had been missed by a machine recount. As a result, the unofficial margin narrowed to a difference of only 2 votes. However, with 30,000 left to count, because we only got through 6,000 in 1 week, with 30,000 ballots left to count, and me having to pay for it, I decided, we just had to hang it up. But I do want to say that it just goes to show that every vote counts. Don't ever think it doesn't, because it sure does. So anyway, that's the situation. I don't know if I would ever do it again. It was very grueling in many ways, but particularly during COVID. So thank you for listening. Thanks for your time. Let me know if anyone has any questions or if that's appropriate. Thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie. Don Lowry was going to make a little report on how the election went and what we need to be working on now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just some statistics to start off with. The November election, we had a total turnout of 80.7%, which I think is the second highest it's been in years. I think the Obama election slightly beat it out, but that was tremendous. Over 85% of the votes were cast by mail. Only 11.7% of the votes were cast at the polls on election day. There are also nearly 3% provisional ballots. And you all recall there was a lot of talk about Republicans were going to wait to vote until election day. Well, that was proved out. If you look at election day results by themselves, the Republican candidates won in Solano County for president, in the 3rd Congressional District, in the state Senate seat, as well as AD 4 and AD 11, because of the difference in turnout. And both Bonnie and our other, our endorsed candidate for Solano Community College District 7, Catherine Frost, lost their elections because of the Republican turnout on election day. That made the difference because their elections were so close. So we did a good job at turning out the vote early for our candidates, but the other side showed up election day. Looking through the list, if I have my list of endorsed candidates correctly, 15 of our endorsed candidates won their elections and only 8 lost. But interesting to note, of our 15 winners, 6 of them lost on election day because of the disparity in party turnout, while one of our losing candidates, Terry Scott, actually won on election day. So I'm not sure what it says about his support, where it was coming from, but I found that an interesting anomaly. So we had, again, the vast majority of our endorsed candidates won. But I do think we need to pay attention to those trends about that turnout. If that proves to be the case moving forward, hopefully by the time the next cycle rolls around, we can do a little more election day GOTV, because I think that did hurt us this cycle, that we weren't able to do quite the push that we normally do on election day. And then moving forward, we have, of course, a special election in Vacaville coming up this spring for city council. And then we will have over 50 local seats coming up in either June or November 2022, including supervisors races, county races, and for city and council and school board races throughout the county. So certainly want to encourage everyone to begin looking for candidates to run. And also don't forget that in a number of our cities, we will now have local redistricting going on. So we will certainly want to be aware of what's happening with redistricting and push to have fair and equitable redistricting happening so that all parts of our community have a chance to have their voices heard on election day.
Okay, I see Monica Brown's hand is up. And then Pat.
Through the chair, my turn?
Through the chair, yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. Yeah, Dawn just indicated it right at the very end. So the Board of Supervisors, I'm not sure what agenda, but I'll send it out. We're going to be having somebody come and talk because we're doing our redistricting for 2022. If you recall, we didn't get it through, but my office brought forth that it would be the Board of Supervisors would be done by the independent panel. But to quote Jim Spearing, he did not want to give up his power. So maybe we can just kind of work on that, but I'll keep you abreast of what's going on with the supervisor, because that's for the next 10 years. And that's very important that we try to maintain not only equality in all aspects. So I'll let it go with that.
Pat and then Lynette, through the chair. Pat Smith.
Hi. Hi. Yeah. I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but I volunteered on Josh Harder's campaign in the Central Valley. And what they did, which was kind of unique, was a bunch of the different people running combined together. And we had literature drops where we actually dropped like 10 or I'd say 8 or 10 different mailers, glossy mailers at people's homes. And so we were working with, they were working with like the supervisor, a mayor's race, they just combined all these races, and we were able to drop the literature, and it saved all this money in mailing. There was no postal costs. And I thought it was incredible. And they did it for literally, I guess, at least 4 or 5 weekends through a month to get all these out. So I just thought that was a good way to do it without costing a lot of money. Thanks.
Lynette,
what we do with canvassing.
Lynette, Through the chair, you're recognized.
Thank you. Don, thanks for your work. You have been incredible over the years that I've been on the Central Committee with the work that you've done with candidates and getting out the vote. My question to you through the chair is, what was the percentage that the Republicans came out? I think you said it, I just didn't quite hear it, on election day that sent our candidates behind?
Well, we don't have figures per se of the party turnout on election day. But for example, in Bonnie's race, Amy Sharp got 53.8% of the vote on election day.
Got it.
Whereas Bonnie had won both the vote by mail and the provisionals. Michael Martin got 56% of the vote on election day. Then you look at the upper end of the scale, the former occupant of the White House got 55% of the vote on election day, when clearly he lost overall 64-33. So, the Republicans were showing up on election day because I guess they bought his nonsense about vote by mail being fraudulent.
Right. Well, I just want to thank you again and just remind people that of the Bay Area counties, Solano County had the highest vote for Republican candidates in the Bay Area. So Trump won, like Don said, most of the Republicans that were in races won in Solano County the day of, like he said, from showing up on that day to vote for Republicans. So we have our work cut out, but thank you again for the work that you did getting us here.
Carrie Birdside is being recognized through the chair.
Thank you so much. I was a poll worker in Vallejo at Hidden Brook Golf Course Clubhouse and I saw firsthand that the conservatives showed up in big numbers. And I want to speak directly to what you talked about, Don, about Terry Scott's campaign. He lost for city council in Benicia by 193 votes. And that happens a lot in Benicia. We are, the progressive Dems of Benicia are trying very hard to educate everybody in Benicia, but we are predominantly white and comfortable. And so we have stand up for racial justice classes going on through our library. We have a Benicia Black Lives Matter group that's coming alive, strong, smart, doing everything right. And so I just wanted to say that we have to be vigilant in our efforts. And Don, data matters. And so I really appreciate your presentation. And here in Benicia, we're trying to do everything we can to educate folks to not be brainwashed by what happened at the national level.
And I didn't bother to go spend much time talking about the overall margins. Obviously some of our races were very narrow overall, including, I will point out, one of our newly elected council members who is up in 2 years will be needing our support because of those margins. We have a lot of work to do, and just because we tend to vote blue at the presidential and partisan levels does not mean we vote blue at the local level, especially in the northern part of the county.
Bonnie, I'm recognizing you through the chair.
Thank you. I just wanted to take off on what Don said. Going into that election day, I was 500 votes ahead. And that narrowed significantly on election day with the election day turnout. So I just want to say that, it broke my heart when I saw those ballots and I would see, you know, other Democrats being voted for, but in my race, they voted for my opponent, who is very, very Republican and very, very conservative. So, you know, and my district was huge. It went from one side of the county to the other. But I just think we need to do better in identifying those nonpartisan races, and making sure that we let people know what the values are of those candidates are. Thank you.
I don't see any other hands up, Marge.
Okay, so Bridget Hunley had an announcement of had a report on what's happening now. Is Bridget here?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was having some problems with power here. So we have a lot of activities available for people who want to continue to work. On the national level, we have a Biden-Harris Community Action Group that's coming together, and I'll have Jeanette send out the information. And so you can join to continue the fight in all the upcoming elections, both in your communities and nationwide. And because even though election day is over, the battle isn't. There's also a lot of volunteer opportunities available for those who want to help out with Build Back Better. And I'll send you the links and information to sign up for those as well. Thank you. And thank you, Dawn.
Thank you. Okay, that's so. I got a request in the chat that everyone, if she said for everyone to say a word about Karen Sims, maybe you could put something, one word in the chat in appreciation of Karen Sims. Are there any other announcements?
Marge, this is Vernell. I'd just like to state, I saw a couple of comments regarding dues. Are dues due now, January? Are there annual dues due? I don't know what the schedule is on that.
They were annual dues, and we had them, now last year they were due August 1st, and I don't know if we made that clear when they're due now. Morgan, do you remember?
I don't, but I would imagine it would be a year from when we first collected them, right?
So I don't think it's really clear if we were going to go January or
April.
Or April when we were. I think I'm going to
Madam Chair,
back to the board.
Madam Chair, this is your parliamentarian. Have the Secretary of Research when we agree to start paying dues, and then you can report it out. That
Well,
rather than us trying to come up with our collective memories.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge those concerns. I see Tom's hand is up. Tom?
Yes, I just wanted to mention, I put it in the chat when Rusty was here, but I wanted to mention that Stonewall and a couple other clubs within the Region 2 area, we are pulling together to have a CDP candidates forum for the March timeframe, and anyone who would like to participate in that, any clubs, because we're keeping it at a club level, please reach out to me, and we will include you. But it is for all of Region 2, not just for Solano County. So, and we've done this before in the past. We've had it here in person in Vallejo, but of course it's going to be virtual because, as I said before, we can't get that stuff. Okay, thanks.
It's yours, Mark. Oh, I see Mona. I'm sorry, Mona. Your hand's up.
Yeah, hi. You know, the Rio Vista Democratic Club had a very successful Biden-Harris sign campaign, and I really wanted to just openly thank Bridget Hunley for making herself so available and helping to access those signs. So I wanted to thank her so much for you know, her availability and helping us to successfully get the signs in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to thank all the Solano County residents who helped with our phone banking and text banking efforts.
Hey, Marge.
Okay, any other announcements? So,
Are these open for anything or just committee business?
that's business that you think the committee needs to know. An announcement?
Do we have any more? Oh, I see Susan George's hand is up. Oh,
Okay,
God.
I was gonna move to adjourn.
I know. Go ahead, Susan George. You recognize you're on mute.
I'll get used to this when the pandemic's over, I'm sure. I want to say thank you to Brigitte. I did quite a bit of phone banking, but I think your phone banking was so well organized and you had the best system. So I just want to acknowledge you for that.
Thank you. Thank you all for volunteering again. We couldn't do it without you guys.
I think that's it, Marge.
Okay, thank you.
Motion.
I'd like everyone to take a look at all the kind words for Karen. In the chat, Karen was calm and connector, competent and kind, and so you can all read on. I think we all appreciated her. And is there a move to adjourn?
Madam Chair, just one quick thing. I just want to say I'll send a link to Jeanette to send out to the video of Karen's life,
Thank
so
you.
people can watch it.
Oh, thank you.
I move for adjournment.
Second.
Okay.
Third.
We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Everyone stay well.
Okay.